Hello, good morning. Welcome to OT Cyber Coffee Minute. I'm Kara with Hill Strong. I am joined by Roger Hill, who's going to share his caffeinated insights with us. Roger, good morning. I have a question for you.
Good morning, Kara.
So the question is, and this came from a previous webinar, what are the most common standards or frameworks for OT risk assessments?
Okay, well, that's a good one. So it's the classic engineering answer, and anyone that knows me knows what's coming next. It depends.
It depends.
So it depends on the sector and many other factors. So, for example, for a lot of process, where you have DCS or distributed control systems, or a continuous process such as a batch chemical or specialty chem and refineries, things of that nature, you'll tend to see much more of the IEC 62443 3-2 assessments. In the community, there's others that have really driven the cyber PHA or process hazard assessment. So those are very common for a lot of the process. And there's really two different types of assessments there. And one is the high level risk assessment, and the other is when you determine the need to do a detailed risk assessment. And it all starts with defining that system under consideration and defining what your security level targets are. So that's probably one of the more popular international standards, if you will, for a lot of the process. When you're looking, especially here in North America, you'll see a lot of NIST-based standards. So specifically, one common approach is using a NIST 882, and using maybe the manufacturing profile as part of that. That's a very common approach. Sometimes you'll see a blended approach, where maybe it's leveraging some NIST 830 in terms of risk management frameworks and things of that nature. What it comes down to is, what has your organization standardized in terms of a risk management methodology, right? So what you're using at the site level, I'm very much a fan of using the standard or framework that makes sense for that tier of operational sites, if you will. So, for example, when you look at your global fleet of operational facilities, it might be composed of some general manufacturing across multiple continents, distribution centers, and maybe even some chemical process. So using the right tool for the right job is actually very important. So you might have a blended site, a blended approach of using IEC 62443 3-2 for some of your process facilities. And then maybe you're utilizing some NIST 882 with a NIST 830 for your general manufacturing and your distribution centers. All of those risk assessment standards and frameworks, though, they need to be integrated, or should be integrated, I should say, into a higher level organizational framework. And this is what should be read out in terms of your organizational risk and where you currently are within your program. That was probably a long-winded answer.
That's okay. Very thorough, very good. So let me ask you this. In terms of frequency, what's your recommendation on how often these risk assessments should be done?
Yeah, so that's tough to answer. Let me tell you where the hesitation is coming from. The common answer and the officially correct answer here by everyone and every best standard is that you should be doing these risk assessments on an annual basis. Now, having said that, when you have 200 sites globally, that's not operationally realistic.
True.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of services and consulting firms that would really wish that was because they could actually really guarantee their business projections by just doing assessments. And so it's not really realistic. Having said that, one of the really good implementation guidance, if you will, would be across your fleet again, looking at the tiers of sites that you have. And I think tiers is a really great way to actually divide your organization. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, so forth, right? And across those tiers, maybe you're categorizing different types so that you can say, okay, if I do a sampling based approach, where maybe I'm defining a time frame of maybe an annualized risk assessment, or in the importance of that frequency really comes into understanding your residual risk as well, and what is there any new risk introduced into that system from the last time you've done an assessment. So the reality is that in this new age of just explosive technology growth with generative AI and everything else, there are some really interesting opportunities in the future for maximizing efficiencies and efficiencies at scale in terms of continuous risk assessment and analysis. So, what my crystal ball tells me here in the next couple of years, the game's going to change completely on how we can leverage technology to really understand in a near real time fashion of what is our risk, and across many different factors. Which geopolitical risk right now is just absolutely crazy. And go back to the original question, Kara. There's probably one other a threat-based scenario of risk assessment standard that's probably a really good one to look at too, and that's the MITRE ICS attack framework.
Yeah.
So don't want to leave that one out.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for your time and thanks for watching. Let this be your reminder to go have a cup of coffee and have a great day. Thanks again.